Hi, my name is Andrew Cirillo, and I'm going to be checking out some of the new medical tools that I just received. These are all the tools that I received in my kit. It's a ton of tools. A lot of them look really similar, and a lot of them look really crazy and weird. Definitely going to be interesting to find out what they do. We've got big curved ones here. A lot of these are retractors of some kind, so they're for holding something open, some part of the body. This looks like a big shoehorn. It's some kind of retractor though, so it'll be interesting to learn what that is. These big S hooks are some kind of retractor also. And some of these, I mean, this one looks like it has a handle, but other ones that don't, it's like, where do you hold on to it? Is which end do you hold? So some of these look really interesting. And then we have like these starting here. They all look like tweezers to me. Everything just looks like a tweezer, a different shape, different kind. So that's going to be, I think, difficult to remember and to separate. Going to have to look at key features and characteristics of each tool and maybe even the name of it to see if that helps. Got what looks like some kind of suction tubes, maybe different kinds. This one's interesting looking, it's perforated. And they all have a barbed end on them, or a semi-barbed end, where some kind of hose of some kind connects. I don't know if it's for suction, possibly. No clue. And then we have everything that pretty much locks. So everything that's got, you know, box lock type hinges in it. And that, you know, a lot of them lock together. But they all look really similar. Different lengths, different ends on them. Some are curved, some aren't, some are short, some have serrated teeth, I noticed, and some don't. And there's just a lot like that. They just all look really similar. Some of them like this are very interesting looking though. This one's like two sharp ends that kind of come together at the end. It's interesting. But a lot of them definitely look very similar. So memorizing these and learning what they are is going to be a little bit challenging. This looks like it is what the tools will go on. I could see maybe if this part looks like it opens up, and then maybe the handles will go through here. But let's pick 4 tools that look the most interesting, and let's try to guess what they do. So this tongue depressor, shoehorn looking ribbon retractor will be something I'll set aside to take a closer look at. Maybe speculate on what it does. All these look so similar. I'm gonna choose one that has like an interesting end on it. This one I believe is interesting because it looks like it's for threading something. It's got that open loop at the end, but will lock in place as well. Put this aside. Just some scissors. Grab these. They have some kind of slight curve to them. Put those aside. Then I think I'll grab one of these tweezer looking. This one looks one of the most interesting because it's got some weird curves to it. So looking at these, this is called a bayonet tailor tissue forceps. So I can definitely see taking this out. I could remember this definitely. It does look like a bayonet, like an end of a, like the end of a military weapon. Had that sharp bayonet on there. It's definitely curved. I don't know if you guys can see or not, but It does have some teeth in there, so it's not smooth. It is for grabbing something. I don't understand why they would be curved like that, and it's also interesting they have a little hole right here too. And then inside there's like a pin that meets, so when you squeeze it together, those two line up, the pin goes through that hole. That's interesting to see what the function of that is for. But yeah, these are definitely interesting looking. Maybe they're curved to fit in certain places where you couldn't get a straight type of tweezer in there. So that's interesting to me. That one looks really interesting. Now this one, it's a retractor. This is a ribbon flexible retractor. As far as the name, I'll have to put something together in my head that helps me remember why this is a ribbon. But it doesn't really have any curvature. It's completely flat. It's like just completely flat. To me, a retractor would be something hooked where you can grab and open, but maybe this is the kind that goes straight in and use leverage to push or something for retracting, but it looks like one of the most basic tools. It's just a big flat piece of stainless steel with some radius ends on them, but it is a retractor of some kind, so it's definitely holding something open. So interesting to find out exactly what this does. Now we just have some Myo scissors. CVD, I'm assuming that means curved, because when I look at them, they are definitely not straight. So I notice that there's a screw in here. Not everything that is hinged has a screw, so being having a mechanical background, I notice stuff like that, and I think that that's interesting. But these are not any kind of locking. Doesn't look like they just open up. And what intrigued me about these is the curved tip. Learning about why you would need curved scissors versus straight scissors is definitely interesting to me, because there's got to be a specific use for them, and finding out what that is, I think would be very helpful. So these are just curved Myo scissors. So now this last one here with this weird end on it. This is called a Foster sponge stick. So I'm just with the name alone, I'm guessing that maybe it's for grabbing some kind of medical sponge. Don't know why the holes would be at the end, but it would make sense of if you're gonna grab something, you need to hold that sponge secure so it comes out of the person's body. Locking it definitely helps hold it. I don't know if the void in the middle of these tips at the end does something for holding it, or if it allows another tool to go through there. But with the name sponge stick, I'm assuming that it is for grabbing the medical sponges. So it'll be interesting to see what this actually does. Along with all the instruments that we got, we also received the flashcard deck, which has got all these instruments on there. Way more than this. These are just kind of sample instruments to kind of give you a good idea, kind of like a well-rounded kit, but kind of peeking through some of these cards, I mean, there's obviously way more tools than there are that we've gotten. So obviously some of these are not going to be ones that, you know, you can actually grab and get your hands on, but I'm going to grab randomly just 4 cards out of this stack, and let's learn more about them. So here's one. Here's 2, 3, and 4. So let's kind of look at these cards one at a time. So what's happening in this picture? This looks like there's a couple of pairs of what I'm going to call look like tweezers and what looks like surgical staples. There's something definitely holding that material together. I'm assuming that the material is representing skin. Person on the left looks to be using some kind of tweezers, I'm gonna say, once again, that look like they're for holding tissue, so they're probably gonna have some type of serrated ends on them. And then the person on the right appears to be operating the stapler. So once again, the stapler is not something we have in our kit, but pretty obvious that looks like, it's got some kind of metal clamps coming out of it that are holding something together. So I think kind of what another interesting part of this is that, we need help when we're doing surgeries. The surgeons needs help, not sterile processors, but when you're doing surgeries, sometimes you need an extra pair of hands, and this is a perfect example of there's one person holding a wound or a potential wound closed while the other person's just stapling it. You don't really think about stuff like that. You think, oh, well, one person can probably do it, but, this is obviously showing why 2 people are needed to do some kind of procedure like this. So let's see. We've answered all the questions of what we think is happening. Let's see what it actually is. So it is some kind of stapler, and it is simulated skin edges, so the material is, representing what skin would be. Okay, so on the left, the person is using Adson pickups with teeth. So what I was referring to as tweezers are actually the Adson pickups. And guessing that they were serrated was a good guess because they do have teeth. And from what I've kind of noticed is anything that's going to be grasping that needs to hold is going to probably lock and also have some kind of teeth at the end of it. And the person on the right is using a stapler. The proper term is a skin stapler. So I kind of had the right idea. I just didn't know the exact terminology. So this tool falls under the category of stapling and clipping. So let's check out this next card. So what are the names of these instruments, the top and the bottom? These both look like they're for scraping of some kind, I want to say. This end that is cupped almost looks like a melon baller. And this has a similar type of cupped end that would lead me to believe it's for scraping or scooping possibly. And then these ends almost have like a spoon end. It's kind of hard to see if they're in the picture, if they have to have some kind of concaved end on the other side of it or not, or if it's just kind of a flat radius tip. But my guess is these are going to be for scooping or scraping. And aside from the different shape, the top and bottom image, I'm going to say that the difference is just the size and the shape. It looks like the shapes are similar. It just looks like maybe the bottom one has a bigger size than the top one. So let's find out. So we have a Penfield number 2 on the top and a Penfield number 1 at the bottom. So I was correct with the fact that they are both the same tool. They're just different sizes. So it's going to be interesting to kind of learn what the numbers reference to I work in manufacturing, and everything in my field is measured in thousandths of an inch. Or we do use the metric system to measure as well. This is looking like it's on some kind of different scale, so learning what the 1 and 2 are would definitely be helpful, as well as recognizing the image. So these are for retracting and exposing, so I was not correct on the function. So these ends must be for holding stuff open, but maybe very small wounds. It's kind of hard also to get an idea about how big these actually really are. You know, are they 6 inches? Are they 12 inches? But regardless, they look like they are for holding something open, just any kind of retracting or exposing something in a wound. So interesting. Okay, now this is very interesting looking. It almost looks like it's some kind of electrical tool, because it looks like there's a wire lead that comes out and something else that plugs in, and to me it doesn't look like this end plugs into any kind of hose. It's got a male end on it, so it leads me to believe that there's not any kind of fluid pumping through this. Very unique looking. It's got a very small little something coming out at the end of it. Maybe an electrode of some kind. I've never seen one, but maybe this is for cauterizing. But it looks like it's probably activated by, I'm gonna say, electricity. So it looks like this end would plug in. It almost looks like the jack on the end of a headphone cord. And once again, I'm gonna say it's maybe for cauterizing. I have really no idea. This is definitely something I've never seen before. So maybe for cauterizing in anything, you know, people that get bloody noses get the inside of their noses cauterized sometimes. It's a way to stop bleeding. So let's see, what is this used for? Okay, so this is a monopolar hook cautery with cord attached, so it is something for cauterizing. Okay, so it's activated with a foot pedal, so I guess the surgeon would be holding this with his hand. This end would be plugged in. This would be held. I'm assuming this end is, I don't know if the proper term is electrode or not, but this is the end that would do the cauterizing. And the whole thing turns on and is operated by a foot pedal, so while the surgeon is holding this precisely, they can be operating it with their foot. And once again, I'm going to relate this to manufacturing. When we do any kind of welding, a lot of times both of your hands are holding the welding tools and equipment, and you're operating the gas and the power by a foot pedal. So I can kind of relate to that. And this is used during laparoscopic procedures, and this is falls under the category of an accessory item. So interesting there. Now this is kind of hard to tell what's going on here, but the numbers on here definitely look like what I'm used to seeing in my field of measuring everything in thousandths of an inch. So the 0.028, and you can see it's something representing something really fine. Looks like little rods, some kind of little rod. So I'm gonna right away just guess, because I'm used to looking at these kind of numbers, that these are thousandths of an inch. So starting on the left, those must be 28 thousandths of an inch in diameter, up to 62 thousandths of an inch in diameter at this end. This looks to be some kind of holding case for these. I'm gonna guess maybe these are some kind of electrode. I can't see if they're hollow or if they're solid. The ones on the right look kind of hollow, so maybe these are maybe these are some kind of needle. If they're needles, it could be either a needle for piercing or maybe something that's more of a guide. But it's kind of actually hard to tell from this picture what I'm actually seeing here. But I do know that there are different sizes. It goes from smaller diameter to a bigger diameter. Let's see, what the heck is this? A K-wire set. They are very sharp on both ends. Use caution. So it seems like it may be some kind of needle on both ends, or at least very sharp on both ends. The K-wire stabilize a fracture site until a plate or screw can be placed. Okay, so these fall under the accessory category, and I've seen these in x-rays before. You know, everybody's got a friend that has a really bad break and showed you the really cool x-ray of all the metal and rods in there. And I think when they talk about rods, I'm not sure if these would be considered rods or not, but these are definitely what I'm assuming they drill holes in your bone and probably maybe hammer these things or tap them in. Either way, this metal is somehow going to hold the bone together until a more permanent structure is built. You know, a screw or a plate, but this must be an initial way to stabilize a severely fractured bone. And once again, it's the accessory. So my initial reaction is being a bit overwhelmed, I guess. Knowing that we're gonna have to learn what all these are and that these aren't even all the tools, and looking at how similar they look, it's definitely gonna be a challenge to, you know, be able to identify these and being able to identify them rather quickly. You know, I'm thinking about in a workplace setting, you're not gonna have time to remember or to try to, you know, debate whether this is this or this is that. So, you know, having all these flashcards is right away, I'm thinking, okay, well, I have a tool right here to help me practice. And in whatever case that, you know, there's a tool that we actually have, I can actually physically hold it, check it out, look at it. And what I also have noticed is some of these tools are a sized tool. So because there's other sizes that go to it, you can grab the tool and you know it's going to be the same tool as the next, just a different size. So one will be bigger, one will be smaller. So that will kind of help distinguish some stuff. And also, you know, we may have a, you know, a smaller size of a certain tool in here than it calls out for on the card, but obviously we can still reference it'll be the same tool, maybe just a different size. Although these flashcards do seem like they do detail you know, multiple different sizes of these tools, but just the amount of tools and the names of them, a lot of them are named after, you know, a person, or in one case, I believe one of these is Army Navy retractor. So, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to be a person, but, you know, in war, if we were using this to help the people that were injured, soldiers, you know, maybe that's where the name. So some of the names can be helpful if you can help remember them. A lot of the names, you know, like Kelly clamps and cryo clamps, I don't have a way to really relate that to anything to help me memorize it. So that's going to be my main concern, is just how to memorize all these and try to figure out a method that would really be helpful to do that. And starting out would be the flashcards, being familiar with what it looks like, and then trying to remember the name of it. And I think I'm just going to pick a few cards at a time each week, get those down, and just keep going and grabbing another stack of cards every week and trying to just practice them. Hopefully I'll be able to remember some of this stuff, and I know it's just going to take some time and seeing them. So I'm gonna have all these tools. I'm gonna leave them in their bags to know what the name of them are, and start kind of just going through, and especially the ones that we have a card for, that I have a tool for, I'll definitely pull that tool too, so when it's describing certain features of the tool, having teeth, no teeth, whatever it may be, you can actually look and see what it is and what they're talking about when they reference them. So I guess overall, feeling a bit overwhelmed. There's a lot of tools to memorize, but we've got the tools right here to do it. The flashcards are going to be a huge help for me, and they've got so much information on them that, you know, you really know exactly what this tool is and what it's for and what it looks like. Very, very helpful tool. So although I am a little bit overwhelmed, you know, having the right tools here, some sample tools to actually physically hold, and the flashcards to actually practice and learn everything will be very, very helpful. And like I said, I know it's just going to take some time and some practice, but I'll get it. I'll definitely get it.